Hey everybody, welcome to the Integrate Yourself podcast with Alice and Maya. You're listening to episode 7. I'm Allison Pillow and I'm an intuitive fitness and nutrition coach, and you can find out more about the services I provide and how I help people at pureenergypdx.com. And Maya is a health integration specialist, and you can find out more about Maya at mayagottlieb.com. That's MAJAGOTTLIEB.com. Together, we share over 20 years' experience in the field, coaching clients and doing our own research, offering simple self-care strategies and a new perspective on nutrition, movement, and emotional intelligence. Today, we invite you to integrate yourself. We encourage you wholeheartedly to be your own authority when it comes to your health and your wellness. Our intention is to share with you our perspective from our experience personally, coaching others, and years of doing our own research. We recommend you always think for yourself and come to your own conclusions. We offer insight on creativity, aging gracefully, and creating a high-energy life, one where you have the energy to live the life you love. Thank you so much to Michael Wynn of Michael Wynn Productions for providing the music for this podcast. And thanks to Maya for doing this podcast with me every week. And finally, lots of gratitude to our listeners for all the love and support you send us every week. We appreciate you so much. Today we're talking about liver function and how it relates to your thyroid, how it relates to your energy production, cellular respiration, and that kind of thing, and as well how important it is to use liver as a nutrient. Eating liver provides vitamin A, which is really important for nice skin and hair. And we're going to also talk about how the liver is really responsible for converting most of your thyroid hormone. That's why the thyroid is really dependent on it. They work together to keep you healthy and produce energy. So we're going to get into that as well as many, many other things. So without further ado, here's the show. Okay. So we are on episode 7 of the Integrate Yourself podcast with Allison and Maya. I'm Allison Pillow, and
this is Maya Gottlieb.
And today we're going to be talking about liver function.
Ooh, liver. And so many people love the taste of liver.
Right? Oh my God.
But we actually want to talk about the liver that's within you that functions and helps you and really is the main organ for many things. And if you had to pick one thing to really want to be careful with is your liver. Besides your heart.
Yeah, so let's talk about that actually. So the liver is responsible for a lot of hormonal conversion and as well as cholesterol, converting cholesterol into hormones for the thyroid to access and produce energy with. So how deep do we want to get into that, I guess?
A liver is I think one of the things we need to correlate with is liver function with thyroid function. If your liver's not working, thyroid function isn't working. So if you think about like what happens when you have low liver function, that means you can't store enough glycogen. And basically glycogen is stored glucose. And when it can't do its function, it can't detox anything from your body and causes that body to kind of start to run low temperature, low pulse, which indicates that your low thyroid is happening, you're deficient in protein, vitamins, and if you're having low thyroid, it's the increase of estrogen. And we've talked a little bit about that in our last episode, but estrogen is basically what causes a lot of the varicose veins, the things that we had mentioned before about women who have experiencing issues around aging, liver spots as they're called, well known as lipofuscin, which is the brown spots on our skin, aging based on how the skin is more wrinkled versus smooth. And so we're kind of seeing the oxidative damage.
Yes, and so some things that could impair your liver function would be definitely polyunsaturated fatty acids, are PUFAs,
Mm-hmm.
as well as supplementation. I've seen people who are taking like basically a box full of supplements. They bring them to me and like, this is what I'm on. I'm like always like, whoa. Um, sometimes supplements can be overprescribed, and sometimes just getting off of most of your supplements can help your liver function because your liver doesn't have to work so hard anymore to get through all of those supplements.
Chronic.
Just by taking some of that resistance off makes it
Yeah,
work
and I
better.
was going to add chronic cortisol exposure suppresses the liver function.
Yes.
So many times we are looking at how your stress hormones and the excess really deplete your glycogen levels. And that means insomnia at night. It could possibly mean flushing, sweating, asthma, migraines, even worse things like when you're in menstruation, having a terrible, uh, you know, uh, menstruation issues in terms of how you function in the day. You can go into even restless leg syndrome, hypertension, colitis. These things are really all symptoms of when the liver isn't functioning.
Yeah, and I would say as well some skin problems can
Mm.
result from liver not working properly too, or not being able to detox as fast as it needs to. I guess low energy would go into that too, because you wouldn't have the hormonal conversion um, in the liver if you had really low energy and were having to depend on stress hormones. I think like certain diets can have an impact on liver function, specifically like the high protein and high fat diets. What is your
Yes.
take on that, Maya? Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a
Um,
good segue into what we talked about in terms of the fatty acid oxidation. Once the liver stops functioning well, it fails to detox, increases in estrogen, and then you accumulate the activation of those fatty acids. So basically, you expose your arteries to oxidative damage, you create more suppression of the thyroid, and when you start to function on that fatty acid oxidation, you are shutting down even more things so that the gut may not work, causing endotoxins to be produced, which is from the bacteria in the intestines. And so then you're having a total shutdown of a mitochondrial function. So basically, you are looking at this connective chain that everything starts to slow down, and then you increase things that keep the function back into the loop, and then causes more deficiency of protein, vitamin B, especially vitamin B, it gets low, which is really important for the skin, especially like vitamin B6, B1, things like that are very essential to our functioning of our cells, things like that.
yeah, and so the big diet right now that I'm hearing about constantly is the ketosis diet,
Mm-hmm.
which is the high fat basically diet. Like you're eating mostly, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's eating just a lot of fat, right? Correct? And protein?
I will not be able to tell you everything about that diet. I just know what I've seen has not been something I really wanted to jump into big time to explore because of how it didn't work for me. There is a protocol that they also do with increasing the protein, and so yeah, that went into after having gone low carb, low fat, low this and that. I kind of said, you know what, I can't do anymore.
No,
I gotta
right.
find something that's working for me. And when I found repeat, it was a slow process to change the damage that I had incurred by doing a lot of restrictive dieting, because the fasting, that we create is, deemed as a good thing too, right? But what we don't recognize is the longevity of fasting has its effects in terms of making you age. So if I'm looking to keep myself in a healthy body, I'm also looking to see where I'm going with my aspects of how my body's going to age and get older. And so fasting, we know basically the metabolism shifts to once again, the fatty acid oxidation for energy, and then decreases the body temperature and the pulse, also decreasing the blood glucose, so causes the increase of sympathetic system, causing more adrenaline, causing the pituitary to increase more ACTH, and that's a little bit more, but what we're doing is allowing the body to work so much harder, before an instantaneous fix. Like, yes, you'll lose weight. Yes, you will maybe, fit into, be fitter in terms of, muscular buildup for a little while. But eventually things have to change because, especially women, we've got so much estrogen. And when our stress hormones are way out of whack, we get annihilated. The estrogen is something that we have to be concerned about as we get older.
And so you have more estrogen production when you're oxidizing free fatty acids. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because the free
It's
fatty
because of the
acids
stress.
drops
Yeah,
the
because of the
blood
stress
temperature.
hormones that produce when you start producing or start oxidizing fat. And I think people think that oxidizing fat's a really good thing right now. But like you said, I don't think people are looking at the long-term effects of it. So the long-term effects would be the premature aging, of course, the breaking down of the body because it's not sustainable. And I actually think that that kind of a diet would be meant more for people who are in a certain health condition or disease state that need that for a short period of time, right?
Yeah, and I think people are going to disagree with us because right now people know that the fatty acids oxidation burns, the muscles burn for that. It can go into that state for that reason, right? So
Mm-hmm.
but the problem is the brain is involved too, and if you keep denying the brain glucose, you are creating mental stress. And then you cause that on top of having low liver function, you're adding PUFAs, which are vegetable oils that have not been around long enough to show the damage that they're creating. They're just not enough years for people to say,
Because
oh, yeah, I'm tired of this. What's going on?
because
And
they're highly processed, correct? Like this, let's put that out there. Like there's the reason why it hasn't been around long enough is because we haven't had the tools to actually process it the way we can process it now, which are nuts and seeds, right? Like extracting the oil from those
right.
nuts, seeds, vegetables, that kind of thing.
Right, and so most of what we're seeing is, there's no link to this right now if you
Right.
don't look for it. Now, there's been studies way beyond you and I before we were born, and I think Ray Peat said Broda Barnes was the first one, or someone who he really credits looking at the liver as the function for hypoglycemia, the ideas of thyroid dysfunction, and so look into some of that to get more of what we're saying, because it's not just us picking up some kind of new thing. These studies have been out there for quite a long time. 1920s is some good research about how they used rats and showed how the function of the liver, started to decay. And so, like, we're kind of needing to go back a little bit and see how we've been misdirected by big corporations that say, hey, this is the healthiest thing for you. And it's now showing up, or more women are having real big problems as they age, more heart attacks. I think we talked about that in the last episode, of how the function of the heart is connected to it, and the CO2 of our bloodstream is being inhibited, so we cause ourselves to have more edema and more varicose veins and more weight gain, and these are starting to show up in men, and men aren't seeing it yet all the way through because they can still fight it a little longer because their testosterone
Yeah.
is pretty high right now in their mid 50s. But as they're starting to see how the estrogen is being dumped into their food systems, they're being exposed to more stress. The paleo diet is just like the other little thing that breaks the camel's back. It's just a setting up. So we want to get this, especially me. I feel like if I keep opening up and reading more about this and sharing, we're going to see the the links to why more psychological issues come up. A lot of women having issues around cancer, things where we're starting to see, that we're just not functioning at our best.
Yeah, I think it's that long-term uh, effect or what we see down the road that we're not linking that to what we've been doing for years, right? So if you're or the thing or whatever is in our has been added to our food system or our water, or what we're the fluoride, the pharmaceuticals that are now in the water that they're saying are in mass amounts.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think
and it's having an effect on people's hormones. You can see it, and as well with men, you're right. It's like they're losing hair much faster now. It's I see so many men also that are doing the paleo diet. Some who are in the fitness industry who are advocating, who are promoting those things for their own product. They're promoting their own products in that field, and they're looking like they're aging fast. And all these things are happening. I'm watching and I'm seeing it happen, like exactly like what I've read in the research that I'm reading. Like, but for some reason, no one's actually putting it all together. And because I think it's about that short-term weight loss thing, and then you can look really cut and muscular, but that really is an indication that you're kind of starving yourself. And
yeah, and I
so
think
we're
if you
looking at that like as something healthy, but what I'm finding out is it's not healthy.
Right, and if you take the years between when you were cut to all of a sudden to the years of why you gained puffiness or you gained weight as a male, you might be able to start to see your symptoms are very similar to women, and your inability to have a liver function, your inability for liver function is also affecting your sleep at night. So if you can't, like I said, your liver can't store the glycogen, your adaptation for stress is so much less. So you are then maybe a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more like frustrated and maybe even to the point of wanting to quit, or you want to willpower yourself through something, and one of the issues about like why we want to wear blue blockers is something that came recently, is that they talk about the increase of melatonin. Well, did you ever connect low thyroid has a connection to high melatonin? And these are something that's going on inside you based on your diet. I mean, I really want to say that protein is important, but are you really processing it? Do you eat muscle meat and then add bone broths for the glycogen, the glycine to help the tryptophan? Are you eating fruits because fruits help the vitamin A, K, and B, and all the C, and all the essential vitamins that you need to help your skin, your
Yes.
your blood
Especially in the
vessels.
wintertime. In the wintertime when
Exactly.
you're not getting any light, like it's brutal here. We've had a brutal year here in Portland, Oregon. Lots of darkness this year, lots of rain, and people are having a tough time. Um, and the things that I've learned from what I've been practicing for years. It really when I'm really focusing on it and doing those things and it works. I don't feel like it can really make you feel terrible when
Mm.
there's no light. Like you're constantly producing melatonin and serotonin all day long, and it's like you feel tired, you're yawning, uh, you've really low energy. It can make your body hurt too. I mean, there's just a lot of things that can happen from not getting sunlight and not getting nutrients, and then that you lose your motivation actually to even be healthy at that
Yeah.
point. So you have to really make yourself kind of get on a protocol, some kind of a program or plan during those times. But yeah, I mean, I think it's also like how you're, like you said, how you're processing things. That's where I meet people when I started working with them. Like, how well are you digesting your food? Like, we got to start there. And if someone's having an issue digesting because of the stress hormone or whatever they have going on, then we start with foods that they can easily digest, that are, of course, clean foods, they're organic foods, but they are things like bone broth and the gelatin. You can get the gelatin to supplement depending on the person, and the carrot, and those are good digestive aids to help. As well as, I wanted to mention also coconut water for electrolyte. I think we talked about electrolytes and natural Gatorade on a few episodes back, but I meant to mention coconut water too. It's really kind of an amazing thing to drink, and it would help with your mineral content too. And so things like that, they're really easy and they're real simple to use, but they, I mean, they're practical, but they don't cost a lot of money. It's just, you just buy food and you eat it, and
Right.
you do it that way, and that's it. And there's no, I rarely, ask people to buy supplements or recommend that people buy supplements, because I think that a lot of times puts a lot of stress on the liver, and if you're already having a hard time digesting food, and then you're not going to be able to really do well with a supplement. That's going to be even harder to process.
And just some other ideas for helping your liver function. Like
Uh-huh.
one of the things is fruit. Like liver receives enough sugar, from a combination of potassium and sugar, which is in fruit. So the potassium helps the inhibiting of aromatase, which is basically things that will keep inflammation going. And so when you have enough potassium and sugar, it activates the thyroid. And so you are restoring the function of the mitochondria, letting the oxygen, work efficiently, so the blood sugar stays more throughout the day, even. And eggs and eating some liver, is important once a week. I would advise is having some caffeine with it because of the vitamin A. And if you eat too much of it, it can cause a decrease in the low thyroid. But what we're saying is a little bit of the liver each week is really helpful, because it's the protein, has the vitamin A that you do need, and it also has the ability to bring in the vitamin B. And so what we say is real food can work. You just have to find the ratio, the frequency, and what works for you on your stressful days. Like my weather versus Allison's weather is so different. And when I have experienced days that are really like cloudy and stuff like that, I have to change it up. I have to say, okay, today is going to be a day where I don't have a lot of light. That means I need to start eating a little bit more, and I need to make sure I'm doing a little bit more frequently, and making sure I have, a good stabilization between my macronutrients, having snacks that work for me, especially because I don't want to have to think. Like, I don't want to have to, like, experiment on, like, oh, well, I didn't plan that out really well, and so I'm going to not eat anything. No, you start to work it for your, prevention of going down those roads of low energy where you actually can think best for yourself and you're not caught up in a stressful moment where you can't, decide something, or suddenly speak without thinking, and or you bite off someone's head because you don't know why you're so stressed or too tired. And these are just keys to kind of give to you guys to help you be the authority of your health, and to really be knowing that real food can help you. It's just finding what works for you.
Yes, I agree, and I think that with the liver, well, first of all, I'll say that yes, the darkness can be very stressful to the body. And I don't think people think about darkness as being stressful, but it is definitely creates stress hormones in the body, as well as so offsetting that, like with a good diet, is a great idea for pro-thyroid eating. That kind of thing. The kind of eating I think that's promoted heavily right now is not going to be good for that kind of thing. But like the heavy paleo, heavy fat, heavy protein kind of diet, low carb is not a good idea in my opinion for offsetting that kind of stress to the thyroid. The other thing I'll say about liver is a great option once a week, like you said. I think also carrots, like we don't want to overdo any of that stuff. Like one carrot a day, it's very strong, it's very potent, and I know that sounds really weird because it's food, but
It's a
it is
great
actually
bowel
very,
mover.
it's highly, yeah, it's antifungal, and it's because it's coming from the ground, it has to be, but it's also going to help detox excess the endotoxins in the gut. So it's really and so I think if used too much, it can be like anything. You can use garlic too much, it can have a bad effect on your body, and so
And
but I
I would
guess
like,
going back to the liver, I'd say like some options for that. I would say for me, I don't like cooking liver at all. And I would say, some kind of a liver mousse, some kind of a pate is really great. You can get those all over the place now without the additives in them. I think at some of the higher end stores. But like here at New Seasons, they have some great ones. And I know I just went to Canada and they had some amazing ones with no crap in them. It was like 3 ingredients. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome.
yeah, and
So,
we can share
yeah.
recipes about how to make a pate very simply.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I totally have to say that that's the easiest way for me. It's like taking a scoop of it and eating a carrot with it is a great works for me. And I don't have to make a big meal and then get overloaded with it. And you can freeze it too if you make quite a bit and you find that it's not going down very well. Some people will freeze even just the raw liver into little pieces and then just pop them like little supplements.
Oh, okay. I've not heard of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
tried that idea, but some people have thought it to work pretty well.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to defrost it to pop it in there. I don't know if you want a solid piece of cold liver going down your throat, but
Yeah, that's not for me. I just like to do the pate, and that's I'm just doing it once a week anyway, so and it's enjoyable. Like if you have it on, I just put it like on a gluten-free cracker or something and eat it that way, or some toast that's gluten-free. Um, or a carrot, you can use a carrot too. That's really a great idea.
and I'd like to
But I think
offer
that, yeah. Uh-huh.
rethinking potatoes, and we can talk more about that in another topic, another podcast. But please know, are very good for you. There are some issues with resistant starch, but they have quite a bit of protein in them, more than we know. And like I said, we can offer more. But
Uh-huh. What are the issues with resistant starch?
well, depending on your gut level, some of the resistant starch can cause the serotonin increase in the histamine reaction.
Okay.
So, we'll talk about resistant starch later and how you may
Okay.
want to be careful about reheating certain things if you do, and if you don't,
So
what it
you don't
means.
want to reheat potatoes.
No, sometimes you do. It depends, and
Okay.
I'll give deeper. But the reason why I brought up the potato is because the potato is very easy on the gut when you can handle it. And then I'm
Okay.
not saying you can't. It's just about how you make it. So a lot of people will make mashed potatoes and put like cheese or good butter. If you get some kind of cream, it
Hmm.
will change the way the starch is in the gut because of the fat that you add to it. And so a lot of people who are having low liver function can't eat mashed potatoes and will actually help their liver that way.
You're saying they can eat mashed potatoes.
They can. It's a matter of how
Yeah.
you serve it,
Okay.
and how often and frequently you eat it, and what happens to you in terms of, if I had to think, okay, if I had gut issues and I noticed starches don't work for me, but I came first through having low liver function, I would go ahead and eat some potatoes and
Hmm.
just have some fruits with it because the starch in the fruit help. But that way, what you're getting is the sustenance to help the liver, but then you can work on getting your liver function back, and then that will increase the metabolic rate, which will then help you with your gut, which then your gut will then be able to slowly repair even easierly, and then the starches won't bother you.
Yeah, potatoes work really well for me, and they always have. And I've used potatoes a lot when I was healing my thyroid as well. So I am a big fan of that, and especially mashed potatoes because you can add some fat, some good fat, some salt, some cream in there,
Hmm.
some butter, that kind of thing. It's just decadent. So definitely, I think it's a superfood, and it's not the same type of starch like a bread or a pasta would be because it's got way more nutrients in it. It's got a high level of protein, and so it's kind of a superfood in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I can't recall, but I think it was like 33 grams of protein.
Yeah, like so if you're vegan, then eat lots of potatoes because that's a great way to get protein. Don't instead of beans and rice, you should eat potatoes because that's
Yeah, we just
yeah,
don't
I know
ever we never
yeah,
recommend that you overdo it. So like just
yeah, right.
because you find a
No,
superfood
that's true.
does not mean go for it. It's just that,
Yeah.
if you're looking to increase protein, there are other ways that you can do that and feel comfortable with it. Especially because it has protein. It has vitamin A in it too, so it's a chance of being like some of the vitamins we're talking about are that you need a lot of for your skin, and so it also has like C and I think D and K and
So you're saying
niacin.
potatoes have vitamin A?
Yeah, white
Oh, I didn't know
potatoes.
that. Okay,
So
cool.
like
Because
one
I
of
knew liver and dairy, and then what was the other thing? Liver, dairy, I
eggs.
guess eggs. Yeah, that's right. Eggs, they have vitamin A, which is really good in the wintertime when you're not getting light, correct? And then also for your, like you said, for your skin and your hair. So if you're
Yes.
having issues in those areas, then definitely up your vitamin A.
And
Um,
it also like there's a magnesium, calcium, potassium. It has levels of that. Um, Oh, and I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's not vitamin A that it has
oh,
only
okay.
C and D and
Because I
K.
hadn't heard that. I was like, wow, I didn't know that.
No,
That's
I
awesome.
misspoke. I
Okay,
got
so
so caught up in
yeah, that's okay. So
so
okay, so potatoes do not have vitamin A, and then they
right.
have what do they have?
They have
They
C,
have
D,
vitamins.
K,
Uh-huh.
niacin, folate, B6, and I'm reading this because I found it.
Okay, yeah.
Calcium, potassium, magnesium, phosphate, copper,
Wow.
magnesium,
Yeah.
iron, and zinc. The potato lacks adequate vitamin A, B12,
Uh-huh.
and I'm getting this from the book we already recommended, which is How to Heal Your Metabolism by Kate Deering.
Uh-huh.
And page 117, if you ever look at this book and want to listen to our podcast, and I'll show you where I'm reading it. And she gives a great explanation of why potato protein is maybe even best for people who are looking to get more protein, so the keto acids and stuff that people are really looking for. And yeah, it's a great source, and she also has a juiced potato protein, and why that is really actually good for you too. So check it
Yeah,
out.
I'd say that would be for yeah, for people who are in a really disease state, like in a serious condition, that they would
Yes,
need
and
something like that,
here's
right?
another thing. If you're in that severe state, remember any potatoes with orange sweet, like sweet potatoes or yams, they're a little harder to digest because of the high carotene. So stay
Hmm.
closer to the white potatoes, yellow sweet potatoes, things that are less carotene
Okay,
oriented. So like the
and that's totally opposite than what we've been taught. So let's explain that a little bit to people who are like, "What?" So what carotene? High doses of carotene can be estrogenic, correct?
the
Uh,
carotene does induce estrogen. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So that about covers it because. And so let's recap just a little bit because we're getting to the end. And so the liver function, your thyroid is heavily dependent on your liver function, and we gave some good examples of how you can help your liver function better in practices that you do, but also foods that you can eat for that. And then we also talked about eating liver from and the different ways that you can eat that through pates, mousse. You can cook the liver. You can take it and freeze it, like you said, and take it in a pill form if you want to, or supplementation form, and then yeah. So then that about covers it, I think. What do you have anything else to add?
Just get back to what we've always been telling you is the blood sugar, and frequency and ratio, and, giving yourself the okay to have more fruits in your diet, being very knowledgeable and knowing that, in long term longevity of life, you're not looking to just be perfect in one part of your life. You want to see how your aging is going to affect you. Like, because this is a lot of misconceptions, and you and I would say, really want to live a freer, older lifetime, span. And I don't want to have to sit there and think how I sacrificed my organ, the greatest organ I have, one of the greatest organs, to an ideal that I didn't really understand was affecting me.
Yeah, this is the liver is important. It's a major detoxifier in the body, and you need it to be working well in order for all your other systems to be working well and to age gracefully. Because that is actually the key. I'm learning is like the liver function is key to how you're aging.
Right.
And
So
yeah, and you
low.
need sugar, you need glucose for that, and that's what concerns me about where we're going with these diets that are pretty popular right now. Is that people are now cutting out sugars, which you need it. You need your liver really needs that. Your liver needs that for energy. It needs carbohydrates. You need the right carbohydrates. Your thyroid needs that too. So if we're going in that direction, we're going to have a huge amount of people that are going to now start having issues down the road where they're going to have low energy, low thyroid, and they're going to be running on a lot of stress hormones, and that's going to be a whole nother issue. It's like I don't ever think that cutting any macronutrient is a good idea. Cutting it out of your diet, I think we need them all,
Right.
and so there's no secret. By the way, folks, to dieting, there's no secret diet that's just going to help it. It's going to be the one. it's just eating food, real food, eating all the macronutrients, eating all the nutrients that you need, and getting those into your body. And sometimes your body's going to need certain nutrients, and sometimes it's going to need other nutrients, depending on the time of year, depending on the of course, the season, how much light you're getting, how cold it is outside, how warm it is outside. There's just different. But I think the key is to start learning about yourself in that way, where you can find your rhythm with that, and start discovering what you need and when you need it. So,
and simply said, low liver function, low thyroid, low protein, low vitamins equates to increased estrogen, increased adrenaline, and dysfunction. So it's our choice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you want to live?
Yeah, and we are giving you guys this information so that you can make the choice for yourself and have a really informed decision. So, that's about it. That wraps it up. And thank you, Maya, for talking with me today. It's been fun as always talking about the liver, and I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Of course, if you like what you hear today, please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. You can also find us on SoundCloud. You can go to my website at pureenergypdx.com to listen as well. If you find us on iTunes, please give us a great review if you love what you hear, and share with your friends. We'd really appreciate it so much. And again, we appreciate our listeners. We appreciate all your love and support that you give us every week. Feel free also to check out my YouTube channel. It's under Allison Pillow. It's the Pure Energy Wellness channel. And what I'm doing on that channel, I'm uploading our podcast, but I'm also providing an exercise library with lots of great exercises for you to do and practice for your foundational movement practice. And they're great. Why I call them foundational movements is because they're really great for providing the stability and the strength and the mobility to build on with more strength-oriented exercises and more power-oriented exercises. So check it out, and that'll keep you healthy and moving. And they're very fun and easy things to do. So try it out. And as well, please leave any comments or questions if you guys want us to talk about anything, or you have any questions about what we're talking about. Feel free to leave questions or comments on my YouTube channel or on the podcast app or iTunes. Thanks again, and we'll be talking about movement and energy next week. We're going to talk about how that relates to your thyroid, and how maybe sometimes too much movement is not good for your metabolic rate, and how, of course, the opposite end of the spectrum there is not enough movement. And we're going to talk about where the middle ground is on that, and how you can find balance for yourself within that, and use exercise more as a stimulus or a good stress for the body, instead of stressing your body too much and going into your hormonal stress response. So please check that out next week. It's going to be a good one, just like always. So until next time, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much. Bye.